Hi guys, and welcome back to the Revit architectural training tutorial. In this unit, we are going to keep learning about the Revit interface. This video tutorial will focus on the properties palette. Let's begin. In this chapter, we will continue explaining the Revit's user interface. We're going to take a look at the properties palette. The Properties palette is a dialog box where you can view and modify the parameters that define the properties of elements. When you start Revit for the first time, the Properties palette is open and docked above the project browser, on the left side of the drawing area. If you subsequently close the Properties palette, you can reopen it using any of the following methods. Click Modify tab, Properties panel. Click View tab, Windows panel, User Interface drop-down menu, right-click in the drawing area, and click Properties. You can dock the palette to either side of the Revit window and resize it horizontally. You can resize it both horizontally and vertically when it is undocked. The display and location of the palette will persist from one session to the next for the same user. At the start of this course we talked about Revit being driven by parameters. That is what makes it so efficient, flexible and powerful. Well, we need a way of interfacing with these parameters, and that's where the Properties palette comes into play. If we select any element within our project, we will always see its parameters and associated parameter values displayed in the Properties palette. Let's run through the various parts of the Properties palette and explain what each is for. The Type selector. Clicking on this panel will result in a drop-down menu appearing. This drop-down gives you access to all the available types associated with your selected element. For example, you select a door in your project, the Type selector will display the door's current type. You can then click on the Type selector and pick a different type from the drop-down list. Your door will instantly change to the new type. Properties filter. Immediately below the Type selector, there is a filter that identifies the category of the elements a tool will place, or the category and number of elements selected in the drawing area. If multiple categories or types are selected, only the instance properties common to all display on the palette. The Edit Type button. Unless elements of different types are selected, the Edit Type button accesses a dialog where you can view and modify the type properties of the selected element. The instance properties. Any changes you make to the parameters only affect the currently selected element or elements. They do not affect the overall type of element. I'm going to use this simple 3D model to show how the type and the instance parameter work. Now I'm going to modify the value for the parameter width from the Type Properties window. As you can see, all the instance families are affected by this change. Now I'm going to modify the value for the parameter height from the Instance Properties panel. As you can see, only the selected element is affected when I change the value. There are two general types of parameters relate to the Properties palette. The first category is type parameters and the second category is instance parameters. In a few words, these two different categories of parameters allow us to have full control of the families.
Okay. But, what is the difference between instance parameter and type parameter in Revit?
The type parameter enables you to modify the parameter value, which applies to all elements of the family type. The instance parameter enables you to modify the parameter value separately for every instance.